I order the Peaky Blinders.
Anyway, we're Peaky Blinders. We're not scared of coppers.
He's right.
If they come for us, we'll cut them a smile each.
My word to who? To a Peaky Blinder?
Arthur Shelby of the Peaky Blinders.
Thomas, you're a bookmaker, a robber, a fighting man. You're not a fool.
Did you know they were going to do it before they did it? Because that's someone who's in charge, isn't it? And who knows before it happens.
I know what I know. If you don't know, then you don't fucking know, do you?
Magnum Mills, baby. It's time to make sure those razor blades in your hat are sharp as a tack, because it's time for PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. Author, just kidding. I'm your host, Jamie G. Esquire the Fifth, and no, I can't defend you because I'm too busy defending Shelby Brothers Unlimited. I'm here with my main man, co-host Magnum Mills, to break down our hopes, our predictions for season 6 of Peaky Blinders. Magnum Mills, to paraphrase the late, great DMX, types of games are being played. How's it going down?
That's a nice callback from the first DMX album. And for the record, we're going to call back and spoil everything from the first episode of Peaky Blinders through the last episode of season 5 and everything that's been in the news. I don't know if there's been any set leaks or the screeners getting leaked or anything like that, but we have not seen any of season 6. We might talk about some things that were in the news that are relevant, and we'll spoil everything from the existing episodes of Peaky Blinders, but that's it. We're not going to, do anything else, so you don't have to worry about being spoiled by any part of season 6. And season 6 will premiere with episode 1 titled Black Day, which will air Sunday, February 27th at 9 p.m. on BBC One. We expect that the following episodes will also drop Sundays at 9 p.m. on BBC One, so that should be 5 weeks after this. International audience will be able to binge the season on Netflix approximately 6 weeks after all of the episodes have aired on BBC One, and we are planning on releasing our podcast episodes following each Sunday on a Wednesday with our release.
Man, oh man. Before we get into our hopes and predictions, let's break down what we know heading into season 6. Now, we know that season 6 will be the final season of Peaky Blinders. However, there is going to be a movie that follows this 6th season, which will be the official end and finale to this series. However, there very well could be additional spin-offs set in the Peaky Blinders universe after that, with individual characters, groups, whatever, and be they movies and or television shows, will certainly be there for that. Pretty exciting branch out possibilities here with our favorite Peaky fucking Blinders.
And thank you for using the Arthur voice, because we have to sandwich that good news with some bad news. And that's that actress Helen McCroy, who played Polly, passed away in April of 2021 before filming recommenced on season 6. Creator Stephen Knight has said that Polly will certainly play a role in season 6, but we have no idea what it will be. We just want to give our condolences to her family, her friends, and all of her castmates and colleagues.
Absolutely. Massive loss for the show, probably an even bigger loss for the world. Rest in peace. Pour one out for Helen McCroy. And Paul, we always loved you. Now, Magnum Mills, that pretty much wraps up what we need to know heading into season 6. But Mills, you can start us off here, Bubby. What are your hopes for season 6? What do you want to happen to these main characters, man?
I think the easy part is I don't want Tommy to have killed himself at the end of season 5, because I really don't, I would watch the season without Tommy Shelby, but for a start, I want that. And I would say that if they're going to do a movie to end this, I really want season 6 to end in a place where I feel it's as good as the other seasons, but it also makes me feel like we need the movie to finish it out kind of in a good way. I maybe not need, I might not be expressing that right, but I want it to feel like every other season did, in that good way. But when I'm done, I want more, but then I'm satisfied by only a movie, and I'm not mad that there's not more seasons. I guess that's the right way to put it, is that I want to be in a place where when I'm done watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, they can wrap this up in like a 90 to 120 minute movie, and I'm going to feel great about it. And then so great that I'm going to want to watch those spin-offs going forward. you know, you would have talked to me 4 or 5 years ago, I'd have been so excited to watch some Game of Thrones spinoffs. And now that one finally might be here, I'm like, oh, am I gonna have to watch that?
Momentum is a crazy thing, Magnum Mills. I think for me, man, I hope and I would love to see Elfie play a little bit of a bigger role here and maybe team up with Tommy and help him take down Oswald somehow, some way. I want to see some sort of finality with that, but I'm really curious how much time is going to lapse in the show. And I'm just hoping that they time this out where they've done such a good job of using the historical real life things that happen. If their end game here is to go right to World War II, there's going to be potentially 10 years or so that pass here, right? I mean, from 1929 to 1939. So are they going to sandwich this and skip 3 or 5 years, and then the movie comes out and it skips another 3 and 5? That's one thing that I'm curious about that I hope they hit well. I'm sure they will. And then last but not least, I'm hoping we get a proper send-off with Polly and her character. Whatever they decide to do with her, I hope that it's justified and it works well. And again, I hope it's the same old Peaky that we love. They're doing big shit, but they're also doing Peaky bullshit. I hope we don't lose Arthur. That's a concern for me. I love the guy. I don't want to. We already lost John. I don't want to see us lose anybody else. But I think it'll be a normal season filled with multiple storylines, big overarcher, and enough suspense and intensity to keep you there all the way to the very end and want more.
So let's just start off here with a little gun to your Special Agent Johnson. And I'm going to ask you, when we get to the final episode of season 6, what year is it taking place in? And I'm pretty sure that the season opens, for the record, I think in 1933.
1933. So my guess is that it's going to be 1936, and it'll be the movie will take place 1939.
That's kind of funny. Like I'm leaning the same way. I think that the series season 6 will wrap up before the beginning of World War One. I think it's just like September 1939, and the movie will take place during and or after World War II. Do you think that we get any mention on the show of Adolf Hitler? Season 6.
I think we do. I think they'll be careful about how they do it. But we've already seen them flash Winston Churchill. I mean, dude, imagine how excited you would be about the show if you lived in England. And, and you're starting to see like a historical figure like Winston Churchill there. I don't think that they wouldn't do it, because we've already seen the rise of fascism. And we've actually been seeing this in season 1. World War I ends. We've got communism rising up, fascism fractions fighting against it. It's just always been going towards this. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if somehow, some way, they're involved in, winning World War II. When the movie rolls around.
I'll follow that up by saying Stephen Graham is been added to the main cast for the season in a role we don't know yet. So you're saying he's not Hitler. I think that's fair to say, right?
Yes.
And he's been in a lot of good things, but I first really encountered him when he played Al Capone on Boardwalk Empire. Do you think there is any chance that he is actually once again playing Al Capone on Peaky Blinders?
It could be something where I could see them incorporating that storyline with the Michael and Gina shit. Maybe Michael becomes a big villain here for Tommy as we head into season 6. Paul's gone, and now there's really nothing, standing in the way here of Tommy having to do what he has to do. Not that maybe there was before with Polly, but I could see them maybe bringing back Capone, forcing Tommy's hand to letting Michael take this run in America and running the show with the heroin trade.
And, so I guess before we get on to our kind of season predictions, which will probably go character by character here, if Stephen Graham was to once again play Al Capone, could it be possible that Peaky Blinders and Boardwalk Empire exist in the same kind of cinematic television universe?
I mean, it definitely could. I mean, it's both taking place during the,
these shows do remind me a lot of each other in parts. So I think it would just be, if they actually did that, it would be very meta, I feel, at least.
It definitely would.
I'm for it. That's all I want to say. I'm for it.
I'm in it. Magnum Mills. And you mentioned doing our predictions, and we'll roll through those right now. But before we do, maybe we should just go character by character here and talk through them, bro. I mean, I'll start at the top of the list, and that's Esme Shelby. She ran off with John's kids and living that gypsy life, dude. What do you think's going to happen here with Esme Shelby? Does she play some sort of role in season 6?
I think this is one of those things where we're kind of spoiling things we know, and she's been added back to the main cast. Although we've seen sometimes that doesn't mean you're in a lot of episodes. She might only be in 1 or 2 episodes, but we know she's going to show up again. I could just kind of see her showing up to kind of look for some inheritance or something like that, especially if, say, Tommy tries to commit suicide but doesn't succeed and he's incapacitated for a while, something like that. My guess is she shows up again for, you know, an episode or 2, plays a small role, and then is pretty much taken off the board. She still lives, all the kids are fine, taken care of or whatever. Nothing major, but I think she does definitely show up, you know, probably just to be another thing that Tommy has to deal with eventually.
Another thing, or perhaps a partnership back to the gypsies. Maybe there's a way he can use them to do something. He's lost Abraham Gold. He really doesn't have a connection. You know, she's really running the lead.
That'd be interesting with Polly out of like now, how she's the one to kind of hook with him up with the. That's actually pretty good. I like that. I hope I'm still sticking with my prediction, but I hope you're right. I like what you're putting down. That's what I would like to see.
It'll be good. That's what I would like to see too. Let's move on. Speaking of wives and ex-wives and widows, let's move on to Linda Shelby, Arthur's ex-wife here. I mean, obviously this was a mess with her trying to kill Arthur and Arthur wanting her to do it, and then Polly shooting her and her just being such a cold-hearted bitch to Arthur. I mean, there's no love here, right? What happens to her, if anything? Does she play spoiler? Does she betray? Does she traitor? Like what happens here with Linda, if anything? Does it drive Arthur to do some crazy shit? All the above?
Probably the answer is she shows up again to give Arthur a choice, kind of, or something like that, or at least to put doubt in his path, because right now we see he's back to being committed to full, you know, it's the fucking Peaky Blinders or it's fucking nothing. I think that has to be what it is. I don't think she could kind of, you know, mount some kind of independent alliance to have enough, you know, pull to really have some other impact on the plot. I think it has to be on Arthur. So unfortunately, it's probably, whether she wants to or not, maybe she's just setting Arthur up for something, but she probably comes around to make trouble for our fucking main guy, Arthur fucking Shelby.
Arthur. Fucking love the guy. We also have Charlie Strong, Uncle Charlie. We saw him kind of stick to his same type of role throughout the first 5, used here and there. He did have that moment with Tommy in season 5 where he shared the story of Tommy's mom. We started to see this mental decline of Tommy. He's always been somebody Tommy, while disagrees with and goes against, Tommy comes to for advice. So I think Uncle Charlie stays in kind of that exact same role heading into this season.
Yeah, I would actually think that Uncle Charlie is probably, if they're going to do, like, if they were ever going to do a spinoff prequel, I could see him being like a main character along with, like, you know, the Shelby parents and stuff like that or whatever. I think my main prediction is probably, unfortunately, he probably, like, I could see, especially if they're doing a movie, he would be the type of character they kill off at the end of season 6 because it has some impact, but it wouldn't drastically impact the plot of the movie, probably, other than to give them some motivation. So maybe I'll call that for Uncle Charlie. Unfortunately, you get thrown the curveball and you do not make it out of season 6 alive. And that brings us to our guy, dude. Let's, you know, because we're not going to quite get into the main Shelby family yet, but we got to talk about our boy Alfie Solomons. I'll let you go first, Jamie G. Like, just what, he's the wild card here. He's the Charlie of the situation. What's Alfie doing here?
Wild card, dude. He is. All I know is he is going to play some sort of role here. He is clearly betrayed Tommy, earned Tommy's trust, betrayed Tommy, earned back Tommy's trust. Tommy uses him as a sounding board, and, you know, for different business transactions, for things when he needs it. We saw that with the end of season 5 with trying to get the Jewish people to show up to create the distraction with the fascists. So this is a big deal, and especially as we start to see Oswald, you know, maybe start to win a little bit. Maybe Tommy gets Alfie to believe in the cause. And, you know, you might see Alfie playing a little bit of a bigger role as the rise of anti-Semitism starts to happen with the fascist party and the rise of the Nazis. That's I would love to see that throughout season 6 and the movie. I think he'll just be a sounding board and play a role, but a limited role, partnering or advising or backstabbing Tommy, or all the above.
Yeah, unfortunately, given the track record, you have to assume like Alfie will appear probably in 2 episodes towards the end of the season, maybe in a total of 3 to 4 scenes. And ideally, I'm going to go with the prediction that they have Tom Hardy on board for a movie so that he survives to play a major role, maybe even an extra position. He dies in the Peaky Blinders movie, but not in season 6. And I think finally, for the first time at the end of season 6, he doesn't betray Tommy for the first time.
That would be a great thing. It's a little bold based on the track record, but I dig it, dude. I can sign up for that. Man. Either way, give me some Alfie Solomons, dude. He's the man. Love him. Wish we had more of them. Moving on into the Shelby family proper, we have Polly Gray. Now, we mentioned that unfortunately the actress passed away in 2021 in real life, so Polly Gray is no more. I do think just because of how big of a character she has been from start to now, they do her right here, and we see something happen that explains her death, both on the show. And so that's something that I'm really intrigued by. There are so many different ways I can go with it. My guess is it involves somehow Gina Gray, Michael's wife.
Yeah, I'll kind of just say this again. There's only so much they can do because we don't know exactly how they'll choose to address the situation. So I'll just go with it. We don't get a lot from her. Maybe it's only a scene or two. Maybe she's shown, maybe she's not. Maybe it's a voiceover. Maybe it's a letter. Who knows? But whatever the way she goes out, maybe even it's just her funeral, has a major impact on the season. So I would say that's my prediction for how they deal with Polly here. And, let's talk about real quick, one of the Shelbys we don't mention, and that's the bull Finn. He is the youngest dude, but he is kind of hungry in the way that Michael is hungry. And we even saw Michael try to recruit him to his side there at the end of season 5, and kind of with the pitch being, he's telling Tommy, you're the old generation. You served in the war or whatever. We're the next thing. And there is definitely a parallel there. What we see now when we see the baby boomers and the millennials and the Zoomers or whatever the fuck, where there is just this disconnect between generations, and they tend to distrust each other. And ultimately, sometimes they have different goals or different expectations about, just what the fuck your life should actually be. So I don't know. Finn, again, my prediction would be they have Finn, they have Michael, you have kind of these 2 younger guys. I think one of them meets their end in season 6.
I agree, man. I think that if it's not Michael, it's definitely Finn. One of the 2 of them is not going to make it. I like that. I like it a lot. Speaking of Michael, perhaps we should talk about him and his wife. Michael, I think, is being set up here to be a villain with Tommy, and I think that's going to bleed over into the movie. So I expect him to live here, but I think it's going to get very dangerous in terms of his relationship with Tommy, and I think his wife, Gina, is going to be a big part of that. I'm not so sure she makes it, and I think we find out her motivations, and I think they're not what people think.
Yeah, see, all right, I'll go a little deeper on this one, and I think that we ultimately find out that Gina is working Michael on an angle, but then she gets killed somehow, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, by Tommy, but Michael doesn't find out that she was really working against him. So she thinks that, he thinks that she really loved him and everything like that, and that Tommy or whatever, the Peaky Blinders killed her. So he goes nuts, and that sets up kind of maybe the major conflict for the movie or whatever, or something like that. So I'll go with Gina does not make it out of season 6. Michael does, but between the loss of Polly and then the loss of Gina, he is like Denzel and Man on Fire. He's coming for Tommy Shelby, and ain't hell or nothing in between, under or over, going to stop him.
Yep. Nope. I love it. I think you're spot on with that. Let's move on to Tommy's wife, Lizzie Shelby. Obviously, they came to an agreement in season 5, and I think they really kind of got a little bit closer, even though Tommy, started off that season in such a bad place and ended it honestly in such a bad place alone. I think his relationship with Lizzie was pretty solid. I expect that to continue here as we head into season 6.
Yeah, I'd say, if you watch the Marvel movies, I'd say she's going to be like the Pepper Potts of the Peaky Blinders universe. Like Tommy, right now, he's all fucked up in the head. She's already been running the book. She knows how everything works. I think she's going to be the one that steps up and keeps, if Tommy's not all there right now, she's going to be the one who keeps the wheels moving on the Peaky Blinders, just their whole organization and their whole goddamn family. All of a sudden, it's amazing how big of a role she could have here.
Yeah, I mean, she legitimately could step in for that Paul type role. Honestly, with Polly gone now, she could emerge in that role in more of a lead capacity there. And I definitely see her, Tommy either having to utilize her more or wanting to, and giving her more to do, and partnering with her is kind of the only person he can trust. So I do like her to continue to be a major player. That brings us to Ada Shelby. Ada is one that you feel bad for, you want more of, but then you're like, yeah, I think they kind of use her just enough. Like, does Ada make it? Does it feels like Ada is at risk of dying a little bit to me, just a little bit.
But see, I feel like she's going to, well, I guess it depends what they do, because she's going to have a baby. And maybe they use that to sideline her or something, although the show has been pretty good about not kind of doing those kind of stereotypical things. I think it would be really interesting, because we've seen her involved first with the communist movement, and then move over to being Tommy's political advisor. And then even now, when she moves over to America, I think maybe keeping her in that political environment would be interesting. Like perhaps she, latches on and marries an American politician or something. And that's where Tommy looks for an angle or something like that. So maybe that's what I'm going with, is that she somehow gets hooked up with, somebody on maybe the American side that Tommy looks to work through or whatever like that.
I hope so, man. I'd really like that. I think that's pretty good. We've seen her kind of be a little bit of a chess piece with last season with her involvement with the guy working for the government. So I could see maybe something like that happening. And yeah, I like that, man. That brings us to our guy, Arthur fucking Shelby. I mean, the animal, a man Elfie is even somewhat scared of is Arthur. This guy is the guy. And dude, I just want Arthur at his absolute best. And I think we'll get it. And I think he's going to be tortured with what's going on with his wife. It wouldn't surprise me if he somehow has to kill his wife, pushing him to a place he's never been yet. That would be very cool. It's just excited about what they do with Arthur. I definitely think they have to keep him. It's just not as good of a show without Arthur. Like, we already took a loss losing John. I don't want to lose Arthur too. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but I think he's safe till the movie.
Well, you know what? I'm over here. I'm like Polly. I'm making you like do the things. I'm reading the tea leaves, and I'm trying to make that happen, because I'm also going with Arthur is there in the Peaky Blinders movie. So he's surviving here. He moves past Linda one way or another. I'm hoping he just gives her the divorce and lets her go or whatever. Maybe it's darker than that. I'm hoping he, I still want to get crazy Arthur. I don't want him, completely off the slopes or whatever, but I would like a nice, focused, deadly Arthur going into the movie to conclude the series.
100%, bro. And I think it's set up nicely to get that. That leaves us last, but certainly not least, to the guy, Tommy Shelby. I mean, Tommy Shelby is just, dude, I'm going to say he's one of the greatest characters created, dude. Like, he's an awesome character. Love Tommy Shelby for so many different reasons. There are literally 100 ways to go with Tommy Shelby. So I don't know that I want to pick one here. I mean, I don't think he pulls the trigger and kills himself in the field. So at the, or attempts. I don't think that happens. I think he's just in a really deep, dark place, and something's going to happen that's going to snap him out of it. And I just don't know what yet, but I don't know, man. They could just do so many different things with Tommy.
And I do have to say, dude, Cillian Murphy is probably one of the best face and eye actors. Like, he doesn't do, especially because think about it. Do we ever see Tommy Shelby not in a three-piece suit? I mean, maybe in the flashbacks or whatever when he's in a war uniform, but again, that's still like you never see this dude. Even when he's having sex, he's still just like with his pants on and his shirt, like he's always, covered or whatever. And I think they're trying to say something by that. And the same thing, you've never seen the dude eat. You never really see him sleep. He is just always grinding towards the next thing. That's just who he is. When you hear those lines about, does your ambition have no bounds? No, it really doesn't. It's what he said. He thinks he's already dead. So if life is meaningless, you might as well be extraordinary. And that's what he's going for. And that's how you've seen him rise from that first season to be a guy who was, working some shit locally, found some guns, up to an MP in Parliament who was legitimately trying to take over a political party. But again, they can't do a Peaky Blinders movie without Tommy Shelby. So pretty easy, I think, one way or the other. He gets out of season 6, but I'm going to go get you and say that he actually does pull the trigger, but he survives it. But there are lasting impacts.
I can't wait to find out. I mean, and it's just one of those things, Magnum Mills, where, here I am just thinking that everyone could just get along, just fine, just have some laughs and smiles and rainbows as we wrap up this season finale. No, it's not going to happen, is it, Magnum Mills? But before we wrap this baby up, man, anything else that we haven't covered that we want to get into before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, we already touched on kind of like Stephen Graham, joining the cast in a role that we don't know yet. So you would obviously think he's going to be there in a few episodes. I'll say the other thing is at the end of season 5, we heard Michael and Gina talking about having to go to option 2. What do you think option 2 was?
Well, and that's where I was saying it could be that maybe somehow they conspired against Tommy with the ending of season 5. I know you think it was the football player bookie guy with Finn, and that's likely, but there's a chance maybe that happened. It could be that they're making moves, aligning partners in America like Al Capone and other prominent people that could potentially help them take over this business from Tommy. And now he's not just going to war with Tommy Shelby and the Peaky Blinders. He's got Al Capone and the Chicago Mafia or the New York Mafia. Maybe we get Lucky Luciano up in here. I mean, especially with the heroin trade, like you could see them kind of crossing these two worlds and Michael aligning himself with La Costa Nostra.
I don't want to get too much into the movie, but I do want to say that I have a dream, and that dream is that they go a little Inglourious Bastards here, and the movie takes us into World War II, and what we see is finally that no, Hitler didn't commit suicide. Arthur fucking Shelby got in that fucking bunker and took fucking Hitler out, and that's how World War II ended, because that's what the fucking Peaky Blinders wanted. And he went in there, he went up to Adolf fucking Hitler and said, by order of the Peaky Blinders, fuck World War II. That's what I want for the movie. I'm just sorry.
If that's how it ends, I will be a happy fan out here in the universe. I think that's a wrap, Magnum Mills. Next time you hear from us, it'll be to talk about episode 1 of season 6 right here on the Peaky Blinders podcast, presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. We cannot wait for that. Thank you for joining us. Please remember to like, subscribe, and check us out next time on PBP, the Peaky Blinders podcast. Magnum Mills, this has been fun. I'm Jamie G. Esquire V. Please tell these fine folk where they can find all of our free content. FREE, by order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.
As long as it's by the order of Arthur, we're good. Oh man, again, another option for the title of the podcast. We could have man, shout out Arthur. Anyways, this is PBP, the Peaky Blinders podcast. You can find us by searching for PBP, Peaky Blinders podcast, on your favorite podcast streaming platform or on social media at Peaky Podcast. If you have any feedback, you can send it to us at peakyblinderspodcast@gmail.com or from the Joe Blow Football Show. The Joe Blow Football Show is at joeblowfootballshow.com. I said it 3 times. You know it now. And on social media at Joe Blow Show. We also do some fantasy football, dynasty football, wagering, DFS, making some money content at Seize the Gap Fantasy Football. Same thing on your favorite podcast streaming platform. Simply search for Seize the Gap FF or Seize the Gap Fantasy and find us on social media at Seize the Gap FF. I'm Magnum Mills. That's Jamie G. This has been PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. And remember, everybody has a plan.
Until they get hit with that red right hand. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you next time right here on PBP, the Peaky Blinders podcast. This has been PBP, a Peaky Blinders podcast presented by the Joe Blow Football Show. We are not in any way affiliated with Peaky Blinders, BBC Studios, or Netflix. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Any views or opinions expressed here are personal and do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations who may or may not be associated with the Joe Blow Football Show. If you have any questions, please contact us at peakyblinderspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. By order of the Peaky fucking Blinders.